And we're back with the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos. How is everyone doing out there today? We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast. And I'll tell you what, it's been another great week of pop culture news and information and all that fun stuff. And who better to break it down with me today than my good friend? He is the commander, the leader, the battalion chief of Humanica Media. It's Josh Pederson. How are you, my friend?
What up, what up? I'm good, man. Just trying to figure out how this Netflix here works on this Sony box that I hardly ever play until recently.
I hear you, but with Netflix, it could be changing over the course of the next couple of years with some additions and some subtractions as well. For some subtractions as well. We talked about it on a previous episode, so Netflix itself is going to be changing very, very soon. And with the Defenders coming out very, very soon, at least the first 4 episodes, I'm definitely excited about watching that, so you and I can gauge exactly if the Netflix Marvel arrangement is still going to be good going forward. So that's something definitely to look forward to there.
Right.
But Josh, also something definitely good to look forward to is all the great stuff that's happening at Humanica Media, including another new arrival. So tell us what's going on with Humanica Media.
Honestly, man, I don't even know anymore. There's so much stuff. I can't even keep track of it. It's not even me like going, hey, let's do this. It's just people coming up to me and saying, hey, can you do this? And I want to tell them, no, I don't have time, but I don't have the heart to do it. So I just end up with more stuff than I know what to do with. So there's a new podcast out called Gardens of the Geek. It's kind of a revamp of an old podcast, but not really, just a rebranding or something. But yeah, so that's going to be a bi-weekly thing. It has the guy Keith from What About This is part of that, and they talk comic books and comic book movies and a lot of stuff that related to nerd geekdom, I guess would be the word for that.
I guess so. See, I still have an issue with saying it. I know Salvador Villa from Mario Party Wars has no problem, putting that out there, and you remember it because remember I'm from the old school days where being called a nerd and a geek was like really just like a slap in the face and whatnot. But now everybody seems to be embracing the nerd and geek culture.
Everybody wants to be a nerd or a geek, and like even people who are trying to steal our subculture from us. So this is a problem,
Pretty much.
But yeah, man. So I got that, and we're gonna record a new What About This Saturday, God willing. We have a new Topicocalypse that just got recorded, and there's gonna be a new Super BS on Mondays. The wheels are always turning, man, always turning.
But you also had an interview, I think Brian did, on the Super BS Gamescast. Is that correct?
Yeah, he interviewed a couple of guys from Two Raven Studios, and they create a game called Wild Heart, and it's actually I don't know if you got a chance to look at it. It's free. It's pay what you think it's worth, but it's a really cool looking game. It's I don't really know how to describe it. It's kind of the gameplay's in the style of like Final Fantasy Tactics, but you play as wood creatures in the woods. So it's a pretty neat concept made by these guys who were actually made this game as a part of a college course. So you can check out the interview. It's up on podcast.com and iTunes. It's under the Super BS podcast. So definitely check that out. Those guys are really cool.
And also as well, you've got the continuing playthrough from Hellblade, Susuna's Sacrifice. And I know the review's coming up very, very soon. In fact, we'll actually be talking about it in detail on the Monday episode, so definitely look forward to that. And so much more. I know Conan Exiles, Fortnite, I know that's also on the docket for you as well. So definitely a lot there for you. And if you want to check out everything that's going on, check it out at Humanica Media on Facebook and Twitter. So we've got a great show for you today. Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pay Dirt podcast will stop by later in the program. Also as well, our good friend, longtime good friend, Mike Crockett from the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing will also be showing up as well, talking about WWE SummerSlam. He's going to break it down with me also later in the episode. And like I said, our fantasy football guru, Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pay Dirt podcast. He's going to be joining us. His initial entry into the PCC Multiverse, and I'll tell you what, it's great talking to him as well. He's going to give some pointers to everyone out there that are going to be doing their fantasy football drafts in the near future on some things to look for and the top players that they should be targeting in their upcoming draft. So that's great to look for indeed. I'm also going to play a couple clips from the latest Humanica Media podcast, and we're also going to have a great song from Plasma Z as well. But first up, Josh, we have got to talk about the big news that came across today. It's something that we've been speculating on for quite a while, but it wasn't a 100% sure thing. But it looks like it's been confirmed by the Hollywood Reporter today, so I want to give them the props. It is the latest project underway for Lucasfilm, and that is a new Obi-Wan story. So I ask you, Josh, when you heard the news that it is a 100% confirmation, not confirmed yet if Ian McGregor, who has played Obi-Wan Kenobi in the prequel movies, is going to be a done deal, that we're not sure yet. He has said he wanted to play, but I ask you, what are your thoughts on an Obi-Wan film and where you think it will take the Star Wars universe to that next level?
I'm kind of on the fence about it. I like Obi-Wan as a character, but I'm not. I want to know where it takes place on the timeline before I make any judgments or anything on it. Because I honestly, like, I don't really care to know anything about a younger Obi-Wan. I maybe would want to know like what he was doing in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. But at the same time, I feel like if there is a story to tell, it would have been mentioned at some point in the older Star Wars movies. So I guess it depends on what it is and what it entails, where it's at. I like the idea of it, but this is what we were talking about before. Like, are we reaching for characters that don't really need to have expanded stories told because we know enough about them?
Are you also referring to the Han Solo story as well?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to the Han Solo because they don't tell much about his backstory. But whereas with, because he wasn't in the prequel trilogies, whereas with Obi-Wan, we kind of watched him grow up and mature and become the Jedi Master that would eventually, help Luke out in A New Hope. But with Han Solo, we don't know much about his backstory besides the fact that he just appears in A New Hope. And I'm more referring to like the idea of like maybe having a Yoda film or a honestly, I don't really care about Boba Fett that much. So it's just one of those things. Like, so we have Obi-Wan, and where exactly does he take place? What's going on? Because I feel like if there's a significant tale to be told about him, we would have already like had whispers of it,
Well, I think maybe there is a few stories to tell. I know there's been some books written about that time between the last of the prequels, Revenge of the Sith, and A New Hope. There is quite a gap there, obviously, from the end of Ian McGregor's time and then the start of Sir Alec Guinness's time. So there could be, something that takes place within those years that could be exciting enough for fans of the Star Wars universe to actually embrace and actually want to see when it hits theaters. In fact, I think there might be even a little bit more of that because, like I said, there's so many years in between the aging process, obviously, as Obi-Wan got older into Sir Alec Guinness's age and whatnot. But I want to know exactly what he was doing. Was there any secret missions or anything that he was dealing with Yoda or doing to try and salvage the Jedi Empire during that time frame? So it's definitely, to me, a little bit more interesting than what you have come across as saying. But I can understand your trepidation in not wanting to see this or not having the desire to see an Obi-Wan movie of this extent. And because he's been all over pretty much 1 through 6, as far as with even him appearing as a ghost later on in the 5th and 6th episodes. So that being the case, I still think there is a story to tell with Obi-Wan. And as far as in the future, I think Ian McGregor himself as an actor has embraced the role
he needs,
quite well.
if they don't have Ian McGregor play Obi-Wan, I think that's definitely important if they want to bring fans back into Obi-Wan stories. They need a sense of continuity, because if they don't have Ian McGregor play him, that will be 3 different actors, and that's kind of like, you know, we start breaking into Spider-Man territory there.
And it seems kind of stupid anyways, because it is almost 20 years, you know, well, it's well over 10 years after the last movie was made. So it fits right in with the aging process as far as Ian McGregor evolving into Sir Alec Guinness's, you know, persona per se. And I just think that it's a perfect match as well. And if they do put another actor in his place as far as trying to put a bridge, I think it will come across badly as being just that, a bridge between both the previous and the future actor of Obi-Wan playing that role. So I agree with you on that sense, and I think they need to just hunker down and commit to Ian McGregor in that Star Wars universe. And even if it's just one movie with him as the sole individual that it centers around, that's fine by me. But there's also more potential with Ian McGregor with again those side stories in the Star Wars universe that you could still utilize his charisma and his acting skills, because I think he's embraced the role again and done very well with the Star Wars universe. What are your thoughts on the Obi-Wan film that's going to be now in production at Lucasfilm? Are you excited to hear about that news, that it's finally a done deal and it's going through that process? Or are you concerned that it's just another money grab and it's not going to turn out well, like the Han Solo thing right now? Is it still up in the air as far as if Ron Howard can turn that around into a positive? We'll wait and see. Are you excited about Ian McGregor playing the role again, or do you want somebody else to play the iconic role of Obi-Wan Kenobi? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, and Humanica Media on Facebook and Twitter as well. Well, once again, it's going to be a great episode we have for you. We've got Tyler Baker that's coming on the way right after the break, that's going to be talking about all the things fantasy football, as far as what you need to do to prepare for your draft and the great advice that he has. He's also, like I said, he does a lot of great work for DKLegends.com. Read his articles there and download his draft kit. Plus also listen to his podcast, the Fantasy Football Pay Dirt Podcast. It's a great podcast for those wanting to get the edge in fantasy football. And then later on in the show, we've got our good friend as well, Mike Crockett from the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing, the show he does with the Kingpin, Brian Malonis. He's going to come by to break down SummerSlam and what things he's looking forward to and what things you wrestling fans should look forward to as well. Plus also, we are going to both share our thoughts on the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. He's had health problems as late. It's been all over the news, and we're going to share our thoughts on what kind of legacy he has and the performer that he has been and what he means to this professional wrestling industry. He's going to be by later in the show to talk about that as well. So it's going to be a great episode indeed. We're looking forward to all this great stuff going on. But right now, it's another awesome song from our good friend Plasma Z. And this is Level 1. And this is the PCC Multiverse. Is it Level 1 or Level Up?
Level 1.
Oh, sweet. Got it right. Okay. It's been a while since I looked at the file. It's like it's there on my hard drive. I just haven't looked at it. So I know you did the video in the background, all that stuff for your E3 videos, which was awesome, by the way.
No, that's my favorite video.
Yeah, it's really sweet. I like that. That's something, that's a keeper. That's one you should keep on recirculating because that is so good.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was just some free advertising right there, so everybody can hear that. If you get a chance, check it out on Humanica Media, the YouTube page. It is really good. Just type in E3, it comes up, and it really is good. It was well done work by Josh. All right. Go back. And we're back at the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. before we go into Crackdown 3 and all the issues there, let me just make sure everybody knows out there, on Monday night, it is the #1 show 6 months in a row on the Podcast Radio Network. It is the Pop Culture Cosmos Show. It's available 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on the Podcast Radio Network. It's also available on iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Ace Podcast Network, Overcast.fm, Player.fm, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Podcast.com, Mixcloud, the ESO Network, the Tangent Mountain Network, the Gunna Geek Network, Cast Crunch, Social Podcasts, and our home site, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. Also as well on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. It's one of the fastest rising shows on the Podcast Radio Network. It's Attack of the Humanicans. There's, if you listen to it, a lot of times there's a lot of exclusive content specifically for that show. So you got to check it out, Attack of the Mannequins, on the Podcast Radio Network, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. So check that out as well. Josh, I'll tell you what, this is something I guess a lot of people in the industry, kind of foresaw this and kind of saw this coming. That was the delay by Microsoft for Crackdown 3, which has been in development for a little while now. It was going to be releasing side by side with the launch of the Xbox One X, but unfortunately, it has been delayed to 2018 with no specific time frame mentioned, just 2018. So I ask you, Josh, what is going on with Crackdown 3? You and I saw bits and pieces of it at E3, and if you want to check it out, a lot of great footage there on the Humanican Media YouTube page. There's a lot of great E3 stuff there as well. So I know I got a chance to see a little bit of it while I was at E3, and I wasn't exactly impressed because, cell shading and whatnot, some people love it, some people don't like it. In this case, I'm not a really big fan of the cell shading that's been done so far by it. I don't think the look was right up there yet. I know that there was this, as far as the continual environment that you could be destructive, the continual destructible environment that you could create and make and destroy in the multiplayer platform, that I'm not sure was going to, that's going to take some time as far as from a technical standpoint. But I ask you, Josh, what do you think is going on with Microsoft when they canceled Crackdown 3?
I was actually wondering the same thing, because obviously it exists because we got to see it firsthand at E3. We got to watch people play it. But from what I understand, a lot of early reviewers and testers have been saying that it's really kind of janky gameplay. It's kind of shaky. It's not solid. It's really glitchy, I guess. And I guess that's I haven't been into Crackdown since the first game came out, and I know this one was announced back in 2014. And it was speculated it would be released in, I think, this last year. And then we finally got a solid release date for this year, and now they're pushing it back. I'm wondering, my speculation is that it has not only are they trying to iron the kinks out, but they're trying to, I think their development cycle took a little bit longer because the Xbox One X is coming out, and they're trying to meet the specs of that console, if I had to guess.
Well, it's also a very technically ambitious project with, like I said, in the multiplayer platform, you're going to be able to destruct everything in the environment, which,
they have two companies working on multiplayer outside of Microsoft Studios. I can't remember who they are, but they're two outside subcontracted companies that are putting the multiplayer and co-op experience together.
And that's definitely when you have all those different studios working in conjunction, sometimes the communication or sometimes from a technical standpoint, that there's delays that can happen there. So, and hearing that it is possibly had some issues from a technical standpoint is not surprising. Like I said, you and I were at E3 and we got to see glimpses of it, and maybe it's not refined enough at this point to be something that Microsoft wants to showcase off with the Xbox One X, but that leads to a bigger question. What really is going to be, the go-to game to get for the Xbox One X when it gets released, because there's no game being shipped alongside with it. The closest would be the new Shadows of War, as far as from Middle Earth Shadows of War. That would be the closest thing to it. And then maybe you could say the bumped up Forza, the new Forza, that's the new Forza that's going to come out. But that comes out well before the actual system comes out. So does Microsoft now have an issue of there's no game that's going to be released side by side with the actual launch of the Xbox One X?
See, I don't know, because I know a lot of people, the excitement revolving around the Xbox One X is being able to play a lot of games they already have in native 4K, but it's there aren't any launch titles. You're right, so that's definitely interesting. But the thing is, like, I want to see how many people actually go out and buy this at first, because 4K tech, as far as like TVs go, like, it's relatively new and not a lot of people have it. So you know how it took a long time for people to get Blu-ray and kind of catch up with all that? I think that's going to be a definite speed bump for this new Xbox as far as that goes. But we'll just have to wait and see. I know eventually they will get there, but by this time, who's to say that like PlayStation or even the Nintendo Switch won't catch up to what is going on in the current technology cycle?
Well, that's definitely some pointed comments as well. I cannot agree with you more on that, but also you got to factor in that Xbox and Microsoft kind of needs a little help right now, as the NPD numbers just came out with Nintendo on top for the month of July and PlayStation 4 behind it, and NPD admitting that was pretty much the bulk of the market share for the month of July when it comes to consoles. So definitely it's something to worry about. If you're Microsoft, can you gain some of that market share back with an exciting new console? But you also have to have games that are ready, that really cater to that system. And I'm not sure if Xbox One X is going to have enough support for it when it launches later this year. What are your thoughts on Crackdown 3's delay and also the Xbox One X coming out later this year? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's going to be a problem now for the Xbox One X and Microsoft? Do you think that this was a good decision? Have you been seeing video and whatnot determining that Crackdown 3 could be a game that you were hoping to come out, or you think it was ready to come out but are now dissatisfied with the fact that it's coming out next year? Are you still going to play it when it comes out next year? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Humanican Media, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook and Twitter as well. When we come back, after playing another great Humanican Media clip from one of their podcasts, we're going to come back with our good friend. It is Mike Crockett from the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing. He's going to break down SummerSlam with me right here on the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being here and listening in on the show as we close it out for today's episode. And I'll tell you what, it's been another great episode indeed. I want to thank Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pay Dirt podcast, and also as well Mike Crockett from the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing for joining me on the show. And Josh, has been a great episode indeed, us talking about Crackdown 3 and also as well talking about the Obi-Wan film. And if anybody out there has questions, just shoot us a line, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, or DM us on one of our Facebook sites. Follow us if you can to get the latest pop culture news on one of our sites as well. And don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts on all of our shows. We truly appreciate it. We truly welcome it, and we truly want to thank you for doing so if you get the chance and opportunity to do so as well. So, Josh, I know you've heard it. I know it's been the talk of the actual movie industry this past few days before the Obi-Wan film confirmation came up, and that was the co-founder of Netflix, his other operation, which is called MoviePass. They recently made a reduction in price, and it opened everyone's eyes because basically for $10 a month, you can go see one movie each day for the entire month. That's right. You could technically see 29, 30, 31 movies in a month on just a $10 shot. So I ask you, Josh, after hearing that, although you mentioned that this is actually not the first time this has been done, what are your thoughts on the Movie Pass going this large with that concept? Actually, upon the announcement, their website actually crashed from all the interest that people have over it. So what are your thoughts on Movie Pass, the $10 a month scenario? And do you think actually it's going to be something that's going to last and something that's going to be accepted by theaters around the country?
It's one of those adapt or die situations because, as we discussed before, theaters are charging so much money that people aren't going to see movies anymore, and this is directly affecting, at least in my opinion, it's directly affecting box office numbers.
It certainly is this month. That's for sure.
Right, and so with this new Movie Pass, it was an inevitability. Like this is just times are changing. People are less willing to go out and spend money, especially with like the internet. And you have those Kodi boxes that everyone are using. Like you have access to movies from your house, and you don't have to pay for it anymore. I know it's not 100% legal, but as far as that goes, they're gonna have to find new ways of enticing people to movie theaters to spend that extra $3 or $4 on popcorn or whatever.
And there's torrent sites and also other sites that you can actually, unfortunately, illegally obtain these videos and movies as well. And they're getting better quality from what I'm understanding as well. So that's something right there to think about as well.
It's not monitored, and it's super simple to do now. So like pretty much anybody can do it. And I know HBO's having that problem as far as Game of Thrones goes, but yeah, this is just like, I think this will help curve that problem, and it'll also help rejuvenate an interest in going to the movies. I think that movie theaters are gonna have to start banking on making money off concessions. I think that's why they're doing like the the beer and the recliners and whatnot. But yeah, I did mention that there is a company up in NorCal who's, I think they have different things all over the country too. Just select theaters are doing this. It's called a Movie Heroes Pass, and they charge you $20 a month, but you get to go see as many movies as you want. Is like over and over. Like there's no limit to how many you can watch in a day, and you bring guests in for $5 a piece. So I think that this might be like the formula for the future going forward. And as far as like being able to tell what box office numbers are, I think they're going to be it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to have to adapt too, because they're not going to be able to tell based on a number value. They're just going to be able to tell based on how many people went to go see it, and then figure out the numbers from there. But what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I know AMC certainly has an issue with it, because they're certainly they've actually already stated that they will fight this Movie Pass. So anybody who gets it, be wary of AMC actually honoring this Movie Pass concept. I personally like it, and I'm personally very interested in the possibility of getting it. I'm just worried that 2, 3, 4, or 5 months down the road, that will be discontinued via either legal action or just a lack of support funding. I know it has support funding right now, but we'll see when so many people are going to be, signing up for the service, if it's going to be able to matriculate down to actually paying off for both Movie Pass and also the studios as well each and every month, and also the theater chains, most importantly, that are being affected most by this Movie Pass concept. So it's definitely something to think about. Believe me, it piqued my interest when I first saw it, and I first posted it on the Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page and news feed. So definitely it's something like, it's like, wow, it's like, it's like a Scooby-Dooby-Doo like type deal, or like, and it's just amazing that somebody didn't think of this sooner outside of what you were talking about. Because it's definitely a great program. Even the $20 a month and $5 for someone else, for someone who goes to movies a lot, that could really, really be a great value for them as well. So I'm definitely intrigued by it, and hoping that the Movie Pass will stick out for the long haul, because I know you and I will be very interested about signing up in the near future, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how much money do we spend on movies each month? You even more so, because you got to take your whole family to go. But yeah,
that's correct.
$15 a piece, and 2 or 3 movies a month. That's $45 a month on movies plus food and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Remember though, I did text you and say that I did get into the Emoji Movie and get out of the theater with only under $20, and I felt that was an accomplishment in and of itself.
That is an accomplishment, but it's probably like a matinee, I imagine. And who knows how much longer you'll be able to do something like that,
It's all about kids' prices, man. Kids' prices. It wasn't for my daughter. I was the kid price. But anyways, we'll won't delve into that too much more. But if you've got an opinion on the Movie Pass, share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Do you think it's a great deal? Do you think it's too good to be true? Do you think there's going to be too many contingencies? Do you think there's going to be too many hangups? Do you think there's going to be too many theater chains, just like AMC, putting up too many roadblocks so that, sometime in the near future, there will be very few theater chains in your local areas that you can go to that will utilize the Movie Pass project, the Movie Pass concept, excuse me. Let us know your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanican Media on Facebook, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Josh, before we head on out, we got to get one more info update on what's going on with your wonderful channel known as Humanican Media.
All sorts of stuff, man. More stuff than I even know what to do with. We have Gardens of the Geek, a brand new podcast featuring Keith from What About This and a couple other avid comic book fans. And we got a new What About This recording Saturday, God willing. New Topicocalypse coming next week. New Super BS on Monday. And, Tuesday nights, the same old deal on the Podcast Radio Network. I am going to just bury myself in podcasts here.
It sounds like, and that doesn't even include the one we've been talking about now for quite some time in regards to the sports world that we're still contemplating about doing, but we'll have to wait and see on that one as well. So definitely something to look forward to on the Humanican Media Network per se, and check out all the great stuff and all the great podcasts on all their channels, including iTunes, podcast.com, Podbean, YouTube, and so many more great outlets sharing the Humanican Media podcast, and also as well ours on the Pop Culture Cosmos channels as well. So for Josh Pederson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. I know Josh is tired already because he's doing like 50,000 podcasts. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.